Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Today is Sunday, February 7, 2021. CNN report. Cheney says she will not resign and GOP shouldn't embrace Trump. Republican Rep. Liz Cheney stood her ground Sunday, rejecting her state party's calls for her ouster and denouncing former President Donald Trump, who has sought to turn the GOP against her, on the heels of a vote by the Wyoming Republican Party to censure her and call for her immediate resignation. Cheney, the third-ranking Republican in the House, told Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday that not only will she not resign her seat, but that the Republican Party should not be embracing the former president.
BBC report. George Schultz, U.S. Secretary of State who helped end Cold War, dies. He died on Saturday at his home in Stanford, California, the Hoover Institution think tank said. He served 3 Republican presidents, Dwight Eisenhower, Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan, in various roles. Under Mr. Reagan, Mr. Schultz spent much of the 1980s trying to improve relations with the Soviet Union. The Hoover Institution, where Mr. Schultz worked as a distinguished fellow, said the statesman had been instrumental in changing the direction of history by using the tools of diplomacy to bring the Cold War to an end.
BBC report. Iran nuclear deal. U.S. sanctions will not be lifted for talks, says Biden. He was speaking in a CBS News interview to be aired in full later on Sunday. The 2015 deal sought to limit Iran's nuclear program, with sanctions eased in return. But President Donald Trump withdrew from the deal and reimposed sanctions, leading Iran to roll back on a number of its commitments. Iran, which says its nuclear program is peaceful, has been increasing its stockpile of enriched uranium.
Al Jazeera report. U.S. ending aid to Saudi-led forces in Yemen, but questions persist. United States President Joe Biden last week announced plans to end U.S. support for Saudi Arabia's offensive operations in war-torn Yemen, including ceasing relevant arms sales to the government in Riyadh. The move signaled a distinct shift in Washington's approach to the conflict and a renewed emphasis on reaching a diplomatic solution to the years-long war, which has caused what the United Nations describes as the world's worst humanitarian crisis.
Deutsche Welle report. DR Congo records first Ebola death in 3 months. The Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, on Sunday announced a death in a new Ebola virus case, the health ministry said, 3 months after ending the previous outbreak. We have another episode of the Ebola virus in the eastern city Butembo of North Kivu province, Health Minister Eteni Longondo said, according to AFP news agency. The World Health Organization, WHO, said on Twitter that its response team has identified at least 70 contacts to the case.
CNN report. 2 Confederate statues were removed in Georgia within 3 days. 2 Confederate statues were removed from public locations in the state of Georgia this week. This comes as cities across the nation have grappled with how to handle statues of historical figures with troubling pasts, including Confederate generals, slave owners and colonizers. As calls for social justice rang out throughout the country following the death of George Floyd at the hands of former Minneapolis police officers, many monuments were vandalized, spray-painted or even torn down by the public.
BBC report. Ecuadorians choose president amid economic turmoil. The country is reeling from the COVID pandemic, which has killed 15,000 people in the nation of 17 million people. With the economy in the doldrums, many voters say they are more preoccupied with day-to-day survival than with politics. Nearly 50% remain undecided on who to opt for out of the 16 presidential candidates, one survey suggests. With so many candidates competing for the top job, it is looking unlikely that any of them will achieve either the 50% of the votes or the 40% with a 10 percentage point advantage needed to win outright in the first round.
CNN report. Death sentence of Saudi man jailed as a teen for anti-government protests is commuted. A man who was arrested and sentenced to death for taking part in anti-government protests as a teen in Saudi Arabia has had his sentence commuted, his father told CNN Sunday. Ali al-Nimr's sentence was reduced to 10 years in jail by the Specialized Criminal Court on Sunday, according to human rights group Reprieve. His father, Mohammed al-Nimr, who attended the hearing in Riyadh, said his son, now 26, should be released in 8 or 9 months after having already spent more than 9 years of his youth and part of his childhood in prison.
CNN report. A 7-year-old boy went back into a burning home to save his baby sister. A 7-year-old boy named Eli saved his baby sister's life when he jumped into her room through a window to rescue her from a fire that destroyed his family's home. It was a typical night at the Davidson household in New Tazewell, Tennessee. On December 8, Chris and Nicole Davidson fed their 3 children dinner, tucked them into bed and were asleep by 8:30 p.m. Hours later, Nicole Davidson woke up to the smell of smoke.
Fox report. Glacier breaks in India's north. Flood kills 9, 140 missing. Indian authorities launched a search operation Sunday after part of a mountain glacier broke, sending a massive flood of water and debris slamming into 2 dams and damaging a number of homes. At least 9 people were killed and 140 were missing. The flood was caused when a portion of Nanda Devi Glacier broke off in top of an area of the northern state of Uttarakhand on Sunday morning. A video shared by officials and taken from the side of steep hillside shows a wall of water surging into one of the dams and breaking it into pieces with little resistance before continuing to roar downstream.
Fox report. Chicago students to return to classroom as Lightfoot reaches tentative agreement with teachers union. Chicago schoolchildren are expected to return to classrooms later this week, Mayor Lori Lightfoot announced Sunday after Chicago Teachers Union and Chicago Public Schools reached a tentative agreement. "We are here to announce the very good news that our children will be returning to in-person learning this week," Lightfoot said at a press conference. "These past 11 months have been a whirlwind for our entire city, pushing us to limits countless times. We've lost jobs. We've lost loved ones. We have all been on a non-stop emotional rollercoaster that we have individually and collectively tried to navigate."
Deutsche Welle report. Champions League, RB Leipzig vs Liverpool to be played in Budapest. RB Leipzig CEO Oliver Mintzlaff has confirmed that the club's Champions League last 16 first-leg game against Liverpool will be played at the Puskás Arena in Budapest. Leipzig discovered on Thursday evening via Germany's Interior Ministry that the English club cannot enter Germany because of coronavirus mutations in the UK. The Coronavirus Protection Order agreed by the federal government last Friday envisions only a few exceptions and no special arrangements for professional athletes, the German Interior Ministry said in a statement.
Al Jazeera report. What's driving the COVID lockdown protests? Protesters around the world have taken to the streets in recent weeks to reject government-imposed COVID-19 lockdowns, as countries race to vaccinate their most vulnerable groups and stem the spread of new variants of the coronavirus. With vaccination campaigns underway across dozens of countries, several governments have reintroduced or extended harsh restrictions on travel, businesses and much of public life to contain the virus.
Al Jazeera report. UN, Ethiopia strike a deal over aid workers' access to Tigray. The United Nations Food Agency says it has reached a deal with Ethiopia to expand access for aid workers and scale up operations in the country's conflict-hit Tigray region. David Beasley, the head of the World Food Programme (WFP), made the announcement late on Saturday amid growing fears of a humanitarian catastrophe in Tigray, a region of more than 5 million people. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed on November 4 ordered air raids and a ground offensive against Tigray's former governing party, the Tigray People's Liberation Front (TPLF), after its forces attacked federal army bases in the northern region.
Fox report. FBI honors second fallen agent with memorial service in Hard Rock Stadium. The FBI is holding a memorial service for slain FBI Special Agent Daniel Alfin the day after the agency honored Special Agent Laura Schwarzenberger with friends and family. The agents were shot and killed while serving a warrant in a child pornography case Tuesday. The funeral procession arrived at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens around 2 p.m. on Sunday. FBI Director Christopher Wray will make comments during the ceremony, after which there will be a 21-gun salute, a performance of Amazing Grace and a final radio call, which is the final acknowledgement of the agent's passing.
Deutsche Welle report. Somalia, roadside bombing kills at least 13 after presidential talks break down. At least 13 members of Somalia's security forces were killed on Sunday in a roadside bombing attack, shortly after emergency talks between Somalia's politicians failed to end a stalemate over how to select a new president. The bomb hit a convoy belonging to regional intelligence units of the Galmudug state, senior military official General Masood Mohammed said. The convoy had been traveling near the town of Dasamarib, which had hosted talks over Somalia's delayed election.
Thank you for watching 5 p.m. recap. To be notified, you can subscribe our channel and activate the bell.